Welcome back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. Thanks for joining us this Sunday morning. We're here every Sunday between 11 and noon. And if you've got a real estate question, give us a call, 281-882-8088. We'll be happy to answer your questions, your real estate questions. We're right here on the air, 281-882-8088. And if you haven't joined us on Facebook, jump over there online and give us a check over there. Give us a like on Facebook. And if you miss any of today's show, you can always go to HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We videotape all of the segments so that you can capture them later. So if you jump in midstream through the show, you can always go back and see what we were talking about last segment. Later on in the show, we're going to have CHI Mortgage on, talking about the different types of mortgages that fit different buyers. In this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about buyers and sellers, but I want to start with representation and what realtor representation really means and why you need a realtor. I've got Keith Hebert joining me here in the studio. He's a realtor with RREA, and Keith is also a broker. And we talked a little bit about last segment about what that means to be a broker, what the difference is between a broker and a realtor. Definitely the broker carries a lot more weight, wouldn't you say, Keith?
Yes, I would. Definitely.
I think it just demonstrates industry knowledge, more depth of industry knowledge.
Right. A person has really drilled down and understood the subjects at deeper levels, and there's a lot. You learn something on the surface, but when you really drill down, there's a lot more in there.
So let's talk about realtor representation, because some buyers, they think that all realtors do is unlock the door, show them houses, and unlock the door. To me, I don't even think of that as part of my job. I mean, I can pay a buyer's agent assistant to go and do that for my buyers. I feel like my job is once they've picked the house, that's when my job really starts.
Right. Well, it starts at the beginning. It starts with really sitting down with the consumer at that point, their customer, and
know what their needs are.
And what their needs are, doing a needs analysis. But even prior to that, you're supposed to, at the very first meeting, give them an information about broker services and give them a clear understanding of how brokerage works in Texas. It's not a realtor game. It's a Texas law. And some consumers think it's the game of real estate, and it's really Texas law. And we're trying to educate consumers on how the law works in Texas. That we're a dual agency state, how it works as a selling agent or intermediary, working on the seller side or working on the buyer side. And if you don't have a written agreement, everybody works for the seller. And what does that mean when you're talking and walking through a home with a consumer? And it can really get you some trouble depending on who represents who.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
So it's important to know who's being represented, and the best way to do that is to put it in writing with a buyer's representation agreement so the buyer knows they're being represented. Otherwise, like you said, you represent the seller. As a realtor, you represent the seller until the buyer puts something in writing.
Right. So if you walk into a home and you represent the seller and you find out something about the seller that you convey to the buyer and you use that to negotiate and get that seller to drop his price, later on that seller's at a cocktail party talking about how that other realtor negotiated him down because he learned something, talking to a lawyer. The lawyer says, well, did that realtor have a buyer representation agreement? And if you didn't, you represent the seller, and boy, everybody's going to court.
That's not fun. Nobody wants that. So let's talk about realtor representation, what realtors really do for their clients. I think a lot of it, really is taking care of your clients, making sure that they're protected in the transaction, that they're taken care of. But in addition to that, making sure it all goes smoothly, making sure that they don't have any issues. I was reading an article where a gentleman became a realtor, and after he became a realtor, he thought back on his transaction of buying a house without his license. And now that he has his license, he was talking about how, really what the realtor does is walk you through the landmines.
Right.
But as a buyer, you don't realize you're walking through the landmines because the realtor's just guiding you through them. So I thought that was really interesting because a lot of the things that we're looking out for and that we're doing behind the scenes, the buyer and even the sellers don't know about it. They don't know we're taking care of those things. They just got taken care of.
Right. And that's for the most cases. Like in our brokerage, we focus on education with our realtors, and we focus on, teaching them how to work through the transaction. There are some brokerages, and you'll see real quickly, that don't do that. And if you don't have the right realtor that understands the process, you're going to step on a few landmines along the way.
Yeah.
And it's important to have an educated realtor that has a real desire to see our industry raise the bar. And that's, I'll be honest, that's what we do here.
Yeah. And, I think that it's real important to make sure you pick the right realtor before you get into that transaction with them, because you're not going to know whether you really need them until you need them.
Right.
You're not going to know when they uncover title, when they do that title search, you don't know what they're going to find until they find it.
And the advice you should be taking from the realtor along the way, and how that realtor walks you through it. And if you've already in agreement with the wrong realtor and you start stepping on landmines, it's a little too late.
Yeah, it's too late. That's right, because you're already in a binding agreement with them.
Right.
It's too late. So it is important that you pick the right realtor, and that doesn't, that's not necessarily the realtor that just has the personality, the bubbly personality you like. You need to make sure they've done their homework. They know your neighborhood. They know how to deal with your HOA. They know how to do all the things that it's going to take to get the home sold or to get the purchase the house that you want.
Right, realtors that have purposely and intentfully educated themselves and have some experience, or working with a brokerage that gives them a broker that gives them full support. Like I'm going to again say, we have 2 brokers on staff. We answer the phones for our realtors if they run into questions, and being open to answering the phones and helping them through any problems. They go, hey, I might be in a problem here. Can you help me out? And it's important they have a good support staff behind them, because not everybody knows all the answers.
That's right. That's exactly right. Let's talk about how buyers can have their offers strengthened, because we were talking earlier about you had a house on the market, you had like 5 offers overnight, and I was talking to one of our other agents the other day. She put the house on the market, it was under contract in 2 days. We're seeing a lot of that in certain areas. Now people are going to call and say, my house has been on the market for 60 days, we haven't had but 3 showings, and and I have to say to you, it's not everywhere, it's just in certain parts of Houston this is happening. But in these high demand areas where we're seeing the homes turn over very quickly, what are some of those things that we're now seeing buyers do, and we can even encourage buyers to do, to strengthen their offer? Because a lot of buyers think it's just about the price, and it's not.
Right. No, it isn't always about the price. There's a couple things that really make strong offers, and the first one I'm going to say is it doesn't always get used, but is a love letter. The love letter to the seller about the home. That family comes in, they love the home, they want the home for the reasons maybe similar to what the seller first bought it for. But writing that letter, a personal letter from one to another, really goes a long way. The other is your ability to make the purchase. You can be pre-qualified, which is the weakest position out there. You can be pre-approved, which is a little bit better. Or you could have an underwritten pre-approval where your loan has already gone through underwriting, and all you really have to do is just go through a few more steps, getting title ready. You're done. You're pre-approved.
You pretty much got an approval letter.
You have. It's like almost cash.
Yeah.
Unless you go and buy a truck or something, but your realtor better have told you not to do that.
Don't do that.
And then, of course, the last position is having cash in the bank.
Yeah.
Cash is king, but that doesn't mean you're going to pay this lowball offer because you have cash.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me when buyers think they can lowball it just because they have cash.
Yeah, because cash is not always
cash is great, but it's not the end all.
Right.
There are other better offers out there that aren't cash.
Right, exactly. So having your ready on the front end is really going to help you outflank other buyers.
There are so many points in the contract, and all of them can be negotiated. Who's paying for the survey, the title policy, the home warranty, the HOA. A lot of realtors send over offers and don't have the HOA form with it.
Right, exactly.
And that's a big expense right there. Who's going to pay for that? Right. So there are so many ways to strengthen an offer, and I think that's something really important in this market, that your agent really needs to know how to strengthen your offer, and they need to counsel the buyers on how to do that. We'll talk a little bit about it at the beginning of next segment. Last segment, don't miss last segment. We've got CHI Mortgage coming on. Going to be talking about different mortgage options, because different buyers have different needs, and so there are lots of different mortgage packages out there depending on what your needs are. Lots of different products on the market for different needs for different buyers. We're going to be right back here on Houston Real Estate Radio after a quick word from our sponsors. If you missed any of today's show, go to HoustonRealEstateRadio.com.